Yeah, why not? It's live stream punk theology. We have 9 subscribers on our YouTube channel, so we thought this might. Hey, Derek. This might up our deal.
We thought this.
Hi, Carl.
Hey, everybody.
Carlton.
That's the
Carlton.
only one I know is Carlton.
Is that girl in Switzerland? She's still listening to it?
I
Is
haven't
who?
seen her in a while.
I can go back and forth from. Anyway, so the topic tonight, Steve had a great idea, and Steve,
Chuck's
that's
with
Steve
us.
sitting
This
right
is
over there.
really-
Chuck's with
this
us.
is seen it
Chuck's with us.
before.
This is really weird.
It is really weird. I forgot the
Can't we just
recorder.
audio it?
I forgot the audio recorder tonight, and I'm lazy. So rather than pull the audio from my iPhone, which takes more work, it's easier to pull it off of YouTube from the live stream. So this is we're not union. This is very uncomfortable. I love the fucking shirt, by the way, Chuck. That's fucking. I would.
My fiance's wife? No, that's awkward.
Wait.
My fiance's
Future mother-in-law?
mother.
Your future mother-in-law.
My future mother-in-law bought it for me.
There you go. That's cool.
F mill.
I
Got like-
Yeah.
I've got a whole bunch of Hawaiian shirts.
We should have done line that. I didn't get the memo. I got one.
I have one shirt, a Hawaiian shirt. It's like I call it my drinking and driving shirt because it's got a bunch of cars and like fruity drinks on it. Like all the colors. Was someone just here?
This is really
No,
weird. That,
No, it was a
this is
ghost.
really weird that I'm being recorded while Russ is talking.
Right? No, I can record myself too. Look. See, it's got this button and I can go backwards like that.
Oh,
So
there's
I'm
a
the
square.
cameraman.
Look, there's a square that's red
Talking
that
about
says
the fucking 80s.
Stop. But then it's a lot more work. Okay,
You're
Steve.
not.
It's very 80s. Yeah. This
80s?
is weird.
Who's gonna
I don't know. Anyway. So, Steve, what
Emotional exhaustion
emotional exhaustion?
in relation to our current social situations. About
All right.
how relationships it's not as accessible as they were previously. Plans have been canceled. How many trips do you have to go back? How many times do you go to the grocery store and have to go back to your car to get your mask?
Right.
Because you forget it.
I did that just 45 minutes ago.
Yes, exactly.
That's
You
why
get
I
to
have
the
a
door.
bandana that I wear on my belt.
Well, I usually
There you
carry
go.
That's why I
one
don't
of the
wear a mask.
Gators over my Chuck
There you
is
go.
he's a non-masker.
He's a
Chuck,
non-conformist.
Chuck is a mask. There you go.
Anti-masker. Are you gonna be an anti-vaxxer too?
Well, yeah. Short answer, yes.
There you go.
But it's like everything now takes more time.
Yeah.
You gotta get your
To
face
do.
panties.
You can't just let's meet down at the bar or let's meet at the restaurant. We can't do that.
So, how much of that though define or if you trust the people that you're going to deal with? So none of us are wearing a mask.
Right.
Right.
So you come in contact with me. You're not wearing your mask.
No.
So we've hung out a bunch of times.
But you go to some place who will not serve you without a mask. So do you leave? You can't go in a restaurant. We could not. These 4 guys. We could not go and sit inside at Scuttlebutt because we're not in the same house.
What about Bruce Almighty?
See
We
that?
couldn't. Outside we can.
Okay.
Outside we can. Yeah.
But you can. What is wrong with lying?
What is wrong with
What is
lying?
wrong with lying?
So
What do you mean? Like we say we're all family or something?
we're all
No.
brothers. We all live in the same house. We're
It has
roommates.
nothing to do with family.
No, we're roommates.
It has everything to do with the fact that you live in the same household. Okay.
Right.
There you go.
Walk into a restaurant, 4 dudes that are across the board
Age-wise.
age-wise. Yep. And it's we all live together. Why
Or-
couldn't you?
Kinky gay relationship.
Yeah, or
We're all brothers in Christ.
That's the
Like I
issue.
said,
is that it's so exhausting. It's so exhausting to try and maneuver into that.
Yeah.
And I am not where Chuck is. I'm more of a rule follower. I can't go in a grocery store or any store or a restaurant without a mask. I feel guilty.
Honestly, it doesn't bother me at all.
which?
Any of this.
Really?
The wearing the masks, like none of it really bothers me or irks me. No, honestly I've gotten to the point where I think I kind of like COVID. Like there's a couple things that suck about it. but I feel like the benefits are outweigh
Oh,
the
they
costs.
totally outweigh the
Yeah,
cost.
yeah.
So you couldn't go right now. You wanted to, say you planned a trip to Hawaii.
Yeah. The trip thing sucks, but honestly, you can also do a whole bunch of other trips that are pretty sweet that you may not even have considered doing before. So road trips are on the table. That's pretty cool.
You
Yeah.
can't go to a funeral.
I mean,
Are you playing
that's only a
right?
problem for you, Steve.
Or away. Well, and that's the thing is I know more people personally that died last year from the flu than I know personally that have died from COVID.
Yeah.
I know one person personally that died from COVID, but I know 3 people that died from the flu last winter.
Yeah.
I can't go to the service because we can't have it indoors with more than 25 people, and there's going to be a couple hundred people that want to show up. Can't do a wedding, but that small, intimate family. But you can't do graduation. Can't get.
You're naming things I hate.
Yeah.
It's like,
So it's funny.
so?
Yeah,
Chuck and I-
graduations are terrible.
Chuck and I had it out on Facebook a little bit over this topic. And this was about a month ago or a month and a half ago, something like that.
Yeah, thought so.
And it was because my son works in the grocery store, right? And one of the pet peeves of a lot, and this is maybe June, right? One of the pet peeves of people that work in service is that when people come up and talk to you, they spit when they talk, which is normally not a big thing, but when there's a global pandemic, like it kind of like at the time, like he's like, you know, that kind
Also,
of
it is
pisses me off
It is kind of
that
a
people
big
come
thing.
into a grocery store. You know, I have to work around these fucking people. They walk up and ask me a question, spitting in my fucking face while, you know, not wearing a mask. He goes, it's just sort of courtesy to wear a mask. But now, like today, so I'm a week-long auto mechanic. So I took this job as an auto mechanic. And I realized my own hypocrisy. So, you know, you're working on cars. There's time crunch. You're in and out of strangers' vehicles. And I'll be honest, I don't have time to freaking lather up my hands and do all the, like you're saying, the emotional exhaustion. Like how much, and I like this topic because it brings out that sort of idea that we all should be stressed the fuck out over this, right? And I don't know, it's sort of like when you get in a car or during a flu season even. And I'm not saying that COVID-19 is the flu. It's very different than the flu. It is a flu virus. We don't know a lot about it. It's scary. I got it, right? But you know what else is scary? Driving cars at 2 a.m, being a fucking Lyft driver, an Uber driver, because like 90% of the people on the road are over the legal limit. You know, stuff like that.
Well, and then the thing that is also exhausting to me is who do you believe and what do you believe? I have become, unfortunately, becoming more pessimistic and less trusting because you hear conflicting reports.
Yeah.
The Surgeon General, back in February, said, masks are ineffective, don't wear them. We need them for our first responders.
Yeah.
Now they say wear them. And then Fauci last weekend, going into the Labor Day weekend, said, get outside where it's hot, it's warm. Get outside and breathe fresh air. Who do you fucking believe?
Yeah.
And that's the problem. I can't believe either side.
Well, so to be fair,
Nah.
they said don't wear a mask for like 3 weeks, and then after that, for the last 4.5 months, they've said wear a mask. They didn't flip flop. They flip flopped once, and they did it because
Right.
they needed enough masks for the professionals.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
and this is what the scientific process looks like. Is when you don't know something, you guess and check, and stuff goes back and forth.
And that's what my wife,
So-
as a nurse.
So what it's requiring you to do is your own research. And you know what? Sorry, like you probably should be doing your own research.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I'm gonna pose a question, and I asked Russ this question in our back and forth, and I have yet to do the actual research on it because I don't fucking have time, and nor do I care. I don't really have a position of not wearing a mask. I wear a mask. If I forget it in the car,
I wear a mask.
I don't go back.
I go back.
That's just where I just don't go back.
I go back.
Especially if I'm outside. I don't care. However, so I heard that the CDC has 4 decades worth of information and research that masks are ineffective. Whether it's the cloth mask, the N95 masks, or the hospital grade
So
masks.
you have
And
to
all I
you have to
posed-
cite that.
No, you're fine.
Yeah.
You're right. But all I posed is, and I asked you this, Russ, is what if it's true? I'm not saying it is true. I'm not saying that not wearing a mask is better than wearing a mask. I don't care about any of the other bullshit. Just what if it's true? You know, they tell us wear a mask, wear a mask, wear a mask. Okay, but which mask should I wear?
Well,
Right.
again, so all that stuff is very.
It's emotionally exhausting.
All
You're
of that
Yeah,
information.
gambling.
Yeah,
But all that information is very easily accessible
you're right.
through a
it
very
is.
simple Google search.
Yes,
That's true.
yes, it is.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I'm too lazy to do it.
Right.
So
But you're not too lazy to bitch about it.
No,
That's
it's
easy.
not that
That's
I'm
what we all
bitching.
do.
It's not that I'm bitching about it. It's just it comes to Steve's question about the emotional exhaustion. So where do you stop researching and just trust people?
Why would you ever do that?
exactly, and that's the exhausting part for me.
Like,
is
especially
I want to
in
trust.
now day and age, like Google will just tell you so much shit.
Right.
You can get 6 or 7 different views, and you can and I don't know. So for me, that type of stuff is interesting and useful, and so I have a hard time empathizing with people that don't want to do it without qualifying them as lazy in my head.
I saw a thread. I follow a group. I was telling Chuck this today earlier. I follow a group of people. I follow 2 groups of people on Instagram, and one group I was following proved they showed this statistical report from World Bank that in 2017 and 2018, Europe, United States, Canada, and there was one other country filed requests for COVID-19 testing kits. 2 years before it came out. 2.5 years. That's the exhaustion part for me. There is so much there is so much information. What do I believe? Chuck tells me, buddy, I can't, I so love hanging out with you. In my head, the exhausting part is, really? You know, I am so tired of not believing what I'm being told, even with research, because there's research. They showed the screen. He says more information to follow. But can you?
But where do
really-
you, yeah, you gotta, and you have to trust your sources too. Like, you know, I mean, there's people that
It's-
share
so,
stuff.
Hitting on what you said there with not trusting anybody. So moving it from COVID to other parts of your life, you see a therapist. Do you trust them?
I've learned not to.
I've learned not to as well.
It takes time.
But no,
But
but
so
so
there's-
you trust them to a
there's-
point, and the
You trust them to a
the
point,
issue
yeah, yeah.
is not viewing it from a sense of duality.
Okay.
Of, and I see this happen so often in the COVID thing. Of I saw 99 reports that told me I should do these things, and 1 report that showed me to do this thing. So I'm confused. So I'm not going to do anything. It's like, well,
No.
There might be more
that
work to
happens
do.
a
Oh,
lot.
yeah.
it happens,
That
all,
happens
the,
all
it
the
happens all
time.
the damn time.
Yeah. And so, but it's more of a, okay, let's just make an educated guess banked on the majority, the qualifications of who's saying what, and the majority of opinions. And why not just bank your assumption based and understand how all that works, understand their logic, understand the contrasting logic, but then just do a very simple statistical analysis of like, okay, most of the experts say this, and most people seem to be having success getting behind that. Why not just go with that instead of getting all freaked out, throwing your hands up and saying, I'm not doing anything because I'm all confused.
Okay, going down that line then. So there are several doctors that are being censored, for lack of better terms, on some bullshit drug. I say bullshit. It's not bullshit, but the what is it? hydrochloroquine.
Hydroxychloroquine.
The one,
Yeah,
that,
hydroxychloroquine.
the one that Trump
yeah,
uses to kill people. Yeah.
If you drink
one
it,
that is-
if you drink it, you'll be cured of COVID. You'll be dead, but you can't cure COVID.
You will
Yeah,
definitely not be.
that
getting
is a
COVID.
cure.
Yeah.
Cyanide will do that too.
Yes, in your death certificate, you'll die of COVID. But there are clinical studies out there that are for it. I mean, it does, not that it's a wonder
Yeah.
drug by any fucking means.
There's mixed
But-
results, and that's how science works.
Correct.
Yeah.
But yet they're being censored.
Well, it
Yeah,
depends.
because-
That's another.
Because then you get politics into the whole thing,
Yeah.
and you start, and you do have to have some measure of control over the information that's out there, because we're already seeing the massive fallout from information. I mean, it's incredibly easy to manipulate everything right now.
Sure it is.
Like
Yeah.
you get 6 Russians writing for 16 hours a day,
Listen to a bar.
and they can
Yes.
destroy Facebook.
Oh yeah.
Like
they can.
they get a whole bunch of Karens just sharing bullshit stuff
Karens.
about 5G causing COVID, and it takes very little effort, and it just
Yeah.
spreads like wildfire.
Yeah.
So and you know what? That's modern life now. So
Yeah.
fucking get used to it. Learn to do your own research. Learn to trust statistical
And
analysis.
fact check your news
Right.
sources. Like
Like, I'm sorry. Yes, it's inconvenient. I'm
I have
sorry.
a
It's different
friend
than it was
who's
10 years ago.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
yeah.
Fucking do it.
That's-
Okay?
But I'm
that's-
fucking lazy.
Yeah,
I mean, let's
right.
be
You're an
honest.
American. I
I'm
get it.
lazy. I'm an American.
That's
Like,
the
it's-
exhaustion point for
Yes.
me.
It's just like, fuck,
Yeah.
I don't want to have to fucking research myself.
Well, guess what, Chuck?
And it goes back to I just want to feel less stressed.
But you won't.
I know. And that's the exhaustion.
you won't.
Okay.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
How can you feel less stressed?
Do weed.
Do you
Smoke weed.
Yeah.
Yes, medicate. Right?
Medicate. Yeah.
Other than self-medicating, do you see a light
Yoga.
at the end of the tunnel on how you could see less stress in all of this? Can you adapt your life?
You will. I think we will evolve.
No,
eventually.
not we. You.
I will evolve eventually. Yes, I will.
What is it?
It will adjust to normal.
What does that look like?
It's. I don't know. That's the exhausting part. Is not knowing what is ahead.
So it's like FOMO, fear of missing out, kind
Yes.
of on a
Yes.
certain flip level. It's just being able to trust, and for me, I think that's the definition of faith. Like not having everything figured out and just going, I guess that's okay. Like
But we don't want to do that. We want to know.
yeah, and I think that's where anxiety gets
Yes.
just roused up, and it's fear. It's basically
Yes.
just fear, and our male. Everyone's got a fucking ego, right?
Yes.
And we try and we try and compensate for the
Sometimes you do.
fear, and I think that's
Yeah.
that's that emotional exhaustion part is compensating for the fear.
And you see
Yeah.
it though everywhere. I mean, you see people on the road have less patience. Road rage. is
Yeah, yeah.
rampant.
It is.
And you
It's
see
been
people-
up. I've seen that lately.
Oh yes, you just drive.
Or is it just all the people from California moving here?
I will say,
I don't know.
the greatest thing on the planet since COVID-19 was phase 1. Traffic.
Yes.
To get traffic.
Oh,
to
I
get-
know, right?
Traffic to get in.
It was
there
sweet.
Was fucking
Oh my
amazing.
God, yes.
It's like, oh, nobody's on the road.
40
This is
minutes to
amazing.
South Center. To
Yeah.
40 minutes.
Yeah.
Shit, I can get to Coleman in fucking 40 minutes.
It's an hour and a half. I was just down in Kent last week. It took me an hour and 20 minutes to get from here to Kent. That was at 10 o'clock in the morning.
So, Steve, I'd be curious to know where it's the most stirring. Like, where does it trigger you the most when you have this emotional exhaustion?
For me, it would be my accessible relationships across the board. Just I can grab somebody. Hey, let's go somewhere. I can go see my mom. My mom's 87. I called my mom. I called my brother. He lives with my mom. 2 weeks ago, I said, "Hey, what's the status of mom?" He goes, "Come on over." I go, "You sure?" He goes, "Yep. Your sister's been up. They come up every other week. They go alternate." I go, "Okay, I'm coming over." And I go over there and I go, "You want me to wear a mask?" "I'll wear a mask." "No, don't wear a mask. Don't wear a mask." So I went in. it's that exhaustion of not having access to relationships one-on-one that I don't know what their stance is. I am one that doesn't want to push through somebody. If somebody doesn't want to hug me, that's fine. But I want to hug people.
Yeah.
Where do you feel it in your body?
That's going back to my chest. That's what we talked about that the other night. That's where.
Yeah, it's up in your chest.
Explored it.
Remember what?
Explored it.
A little bit.
Felt it.
We did it in an episode. Yeah, yeah.
I listened to it.
Yeah,
The one podcast I listened to.
yeah.
That's
Yeah.
probably for me because I'm a social guy, and the weird part is I'm social, but I don't like close proximity. So I'm gonna be liking the 6 feet rule, but I want to be able to talk with you. And if our relationship is such that I want to give you a hug when we're done, or a hug when I see you, yeah. I mean, I miss that in church. Just that interaction with guys. Just that. Our buddy, the motorcycle buddy, Roger.
Yeah.
He was there Sunday. Come back from Sturgis. He quarantined himself 2 weeks on his boat post Sturgis, before he went back to his house with a bunch of household people. I go, good for you, buddy. He comes up to me and goes, "Can I give you a hug?" I go, "Yes, you can give me a hug." That's the exhaustion point because you don't know what people are. You know, you go in. I don't like the masks because I realize that I rely on a lot of facial expressions
Yeah.
to interpret what they're saying to me. And as a sales rep, I'm across the board. I got one customer out in Arlington or Granite Falls. No, we don't wear masks here. Take that thing off. Awesome. The tribes up north of Marysville, masks not required. You go into fillings. You go up to the gas station. Filling station. I'm dating myself now. But you go up to a gas station, and no, masks are not required. And it's about probably 30-70, 30 with masks, 70% without masks. But I that's the part of me that I'm exhausted by is not having that normal. And if that is the new normal,
What it?
it
Go,
will
no, go ahead.
adjust. I will adjust. But I'm saying right now, it's emotionally exhausting. I want to just feel normal.
What if you didn't follow all the rules? Is that part of it?
I can't. That's my whole.
Well, it's,
That's my
it's in
whole. That's my whole. That's in my DNA. I think growing up from freshman year of high school in the church.
Well, that's
that's-
Christian missionary
Yeah,
alliance right there.
that is. That is.
Yeah.
Good old CMA.
And it's like,
You will
well, why
follow the
wouldn't you?
rules.
Because it's not right.
Yeah.
Well, it's all behavior modification,
Yep.
and that's where I stand. I can't not follow the rules. I've not had a speeding ticket in probably 25 years. I've had an illegal left turn. I've had talking on my phone, but I can't because those are in my head.
Do me a favor.
Sure.
They don't cost very much. Speed. Get a speeding ticket.
I can't.
Do it.
I can't.
It'll cost less than therapy.
You're gonna be out $150 max.
I can't.
Do 72.
I can't do it.
When you get on the freeway,
I would
set your
sweat.
Go on, set your cruise control for 72. Because let's be honest, they're not gonna fucking pull you over for 70.
Okay, so
So 72 miles an hour.
why did I not have sex before marriage?
Because the rules said you weren't
Yes!
supposed to. Yeah. Just
Yeah,
do it.
yeah,
I
yeah.
can't.
Yeah, you can.
No, I can't.
Sure you can. There's a gas
cannot
and a
do
brake.
that.
There's a gas and a brake. You just push on.
And here's the thing, my first ticket. God, when was that? Probably 1976. I know. Bothell Everett Highway. I was going 60 plus in a 35, and the state patrol pulled out of the place. It was the old Vips restaurant, which is now there's a bikini barista there on the East One. Anyway.
Right.
Our listeners are riveted.
Bikini barista.
I have a better proposition for you.
60 plus.
Go get a prostitute.
60 plus.
Yeah, that would
And my dad
help
told
all
my
of us.
dad the ticket at the time
No,
was $95.
There you
That
go.
was- Dad goes, "You're not even supposed to go on the freeway that fast." Because at that time, freeway's max speed was 55 miles an hour. That was the last speeding ticket I got. I got one at 40 in a 30. And that was just to get up a hill. That's in my DNA.
I'm like
I
a
am
mix-
rule follower.
I'm like right in between you and Chuck.
Really?
Like, yeah, like there's some rules that like don't know how to describe it. If I feel like there's a really good reason for me not to follow it, I won't do it. But if it's just for the purpose of not following a rule, I'll follow a rule.
follow the rule.
If I don't have a good reason for it, I'll follow the rule. But
I think a lot of my not following rules though is geared maybe less rule following geared towards traffic related shit. So you're going around a corner and there's the bullshit yellow sign that says 35 miles an hour. Do you know why that sign exists?
To go 35 miles an hour.
Yeah, because some bureaucrat somewhere
No,
wrote
it
that
has
shit
nothing-
down.
It has nothing to do with bureaucratic bullshit. Do you know why that
is that a
sign
truck
exists?
traffic thing?
It's stopping sight distance.
Yeah.
So, stopping sight distance is a 3-foot object or a 2-foot object steps out in the road. You have enough space to stop.
To
so you don't
stop,
run
yeah,
over.
yeah.
I'll follow that rule. I'll go around the corner at 35 miles an hour. That's fine. Speed limits? Fuck off. I'm on a freeway. It's straight. There ain't nobody there. I'm gonna do 90. And when the state patrol pulls you over, do you know why I pulled you over? Yep, I was going 90 fucking miles an hour. It's a bird blue sky. There ain't nobody on the road. What the fuck?
5-year fine, 9-year mine. I'll go with 75. Eastern Washington into Montana. Montana's 85.
Yeah.
No, I won't go 85 miles an hour for a safety thing. So
Yeah, I go 85, 90 when I'm going to Idaho. Yeah.
I cannot do that.
I
I don't
just
go quite 90.
I just
More
bought a
like
red GT
87,
convertible.
88.
I'm good with.
I'm nervous about my
10%.
own ability to follow rules.
Yeah, you and Chuck struggle.
Yeah, okay, on an airplane.
And you and Chuck have a thing, and this is what irks me about it, is it comes off as compulsive. Like, you don't have a good reason for it. You're just being a dick. Yeah.
I don't want to be a dick.
And that's the part. And that's the part.
Oh no,
That's
man!
No, I totally.
It's like Vin
What do you mean you
Diesel.
don't know,
You
Russ?
don't know
You
bullshit.
I'll wear a
always-
mask.
That's where it's like, fuck, I forgot my mask. I'm 3 feet from the door. Fuck off.
No, I go back. I can't even go the opposite
You know what I
direction on
do?
the arrows.
I pull my thing off of my belt loop because I've thought about it before. Instead of fucking yeah,
I was
Okay.
told.
My brain doesn't work that way.
it's
Okay,
called
so-
planning.
I
It's
was
called
told-
planning.
I was telling Steve earlier. So I rented an Orville Center from Home Depot, and I pulled into the pro parking because it's the tool rental is right next to.
I just
the pro
pictured
parking.
Orville Redenbacher married with fucking Colonel Sanders.
Not quite. There wasn't any parking in the pro, so I turned around. I turned, and there was the pro trailer parking, which is right across the door. So I parked, and I was laying the seats down so I get the sander in the back of the car. And this guy pulls up with the trailer, and he says, "Are you leaving, or you just get here?" I said, "I just got here." He says, "Oh, this is for trailer parking." Yes, I am totally aware. And walking up, and this lady from Home Depot says, "You parked in a space for pro trailers." So,
Right.
totally a dick. I don't care. The door's right there.
It's-
I am not parking.
It's not only that you don't care; it's that you get off a little bit on not caring.
Yes.
You get a little bit of a hard on. You get a chubby.
Oh yeah.
You get a chubby.
Definitely.
I'm
But it's part of, and I guess.
and that's the part that irks me a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit.
Like, you
Well,
know what?
Okay, so which is better? Because I did this when I returned the Orbital Center. I parked in the middle of the fucking aisle. I pulled up right to the door, unloaded the sander, and I wasn't there for 5 minutes. I went into the store and shopped. I'm in the middle of the aisle between the door and the actual parking spaces. So what's better? That I
You know what's
park-
better?
Parking in a real
Parking in a real fucking parking spot that they've got hundreds of that are totally empty. And
And you can even get Chick-fil-A over there. There's a
Not-
Chick-fil-A in the parking lot.
and not getting hard while you walk to the store. Do it in the privacy of your house, Chuck.
So you're, I don't know, man. You're judging motivation over
You
there.
got these guys on the left. I'm on the right, and you're in the middle.
Yeah.
I can't even on an airplane when they. Yeah, I can't even break it out.
you
I'll
were
take
in
a
the
Coke. I'll take a Coke. They
Really?
give me half a Coke. I won't ask for the rest of the code.
Okay.
When I was 15, they served me wine because it was international airspace. I'm
I
like,
was not
fucking A, well, give me a glass of wine. And give me another glass of wine.
Oh,
Can you
God.
fasten your seatbelt?
Oh, yes. I never take it off.
So what's weird about that, I'm just going to throw this out there, all right? So my wife and I had this conversation about the last episode. Speaking of emotional exhaustion,
Which was
which was
want to button.
1, 2,
Or
the want to
Scaring
button.
Why don't you
Yeah,
want to?
yeah. Why
Which
don't
just
you
got
want
posted
to?
today, right?
You
Yeah.
guys have an episode between when I
Yeah.
listened to
Yeah. It just got posted this morning. So that episode was about, the stress or emotional exhaustion, one could say, of being in a relationship where the other person doesn't seem to want to toe the weight or be is involved or get right or whatever the language is. So my wife and I, we had this conversation about it. And so she, in our relationship, she was the first one. We were going to church, we're going to this church and dealing with our fucking shit, really heavy shit. And she was the first one to get help. And she got help for sexual abuse when she was a kid. And at the time, that was the thing that I most fucking avoided. Like, I didn't want to talk about it. I didn't want it. Nobody knew about it. Like, it was the one thing that, I'm fine, man. I'm a fucking man. I can handle my shit. We're gonna do great, right? And then she said, yeah, our therapist had the most interesting thing today. And I said, what's that? And he said, she goes, yeah, he said, when is Russ going to come in and talk about his shit and what happened to him? And we were driving home from Linwood at the time, down I-5. And what she didn't realize at the time is I had tears streaming down my face. Because I knew, and I was fucking holding all that shit inside. And so she went and got help. And then this therapist, again, you talk about the distrust of therapists, which is a thing. And you brought that up in that episode too. And I think that was something we tossed around too, was not all therapy is great, That
A
sort
good
of
therapist is
prostitute,
fantastic.
that prostitute analogy is sort of a thing.
Yes.
It's sort of a trust thing. I don't know if prostitute's the best analogy.
And here's
Maybe
what
mechanic.
What I've decided is if you need to find a therapist that's going to give you tools that you can work on,
Yeah.
so that you don't have to be in therapy anymore.
Yes.
Like, I think therapy should be treated like physical therapy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whereas they're training you, and then after a while going to physical therapy, they go, okay, just do these exercises for a while, and then you'll get better, and you don't have to come back anymore.
Right. You
And
have to
so
do
much-
the work.
And so much of modern therapy is codependency.
Right.
Of they're just
Or
setting
bad
up
Netflix shows where it never resolves.
Right. Yeah.
They'll just drag you along.
Or they're giving you bad advice, or they're
Or they're fucked up themselves, and that's why they got into therapy.
and there's some physical therapists that'll tell you to do the wrong exercises, and so you got to go to a therapist that's going to teach you how to do the right exercises, and you got to do them for a while before you figure out they're going to work for you.
Yeah.
So it's a complicated process. It's an emotionally exhausting process
That's-
because you have
Yes.
to, and there's a good chance, there's a 85-90% chance you're going to have to break up with your therapist and go find a better therapist.
That's right. Oh,
And you-
absolutely.
And when you're emotionally exhausted because you got so much trauma and shit in your life and you don't have a support network, that's basically fucking impossible.
See,
Yeah,
that's-
it is.
I think that was my
Yeah.
trigger was there are so many of us that are emotionally. I've discussed this with customers. I have a different relationship with my customer base is that I get to know them because I care about them as people. And one of the things that I think we talked about was there are so many of us out there that are dealing with emotional exhaustion, but they don't know what it is. They're pissed off at their wife, they're pissed off at their husband, they're pissed off at their kids, they're pissed off at the teacher,
Right.
they're pissed off at the grocery clerk, they're pissed off at the Home Depot. It doesn't matter. They're pissed off because we're emotionally exhausted and we don't know what it is. I think that's what triggered me with this whole idea. It's one of the things I've been leaning into in the last couple of weeks is just, okay, what is that really saying?
Right.
Am I pissed off because my
And
my
part-
Amazon driver today delivered the package on the steps and not on the porch? Not really,
Yeah.
but I am because it inconvenienced me.
It's a buildup of stress or cortisol in your system.
Well, it's like, you know, we talked about those scary men. It's like keeping that, and it's something that I'm guilty of, is trying to keep that beach ball underwater.
Right.
Because if I don't like what it's doing.
And then going back a few episodes from that, and something my wife and I talked about, the whole having female friends thing. I think that's where she and I were talking about your story and what you shared in that last episode about getting dangerously close to, because you shared stuff on that episode where, like, dude, you know, it's like I would be more afraid of driving 90 miles an hour down Broadway here in Everett. You know?
Yes.
Just from what you, like, that's
Yeah.
scary shit.
Yeah.
But it's honest and it's where you're at. But at the same time, I would say, as your friend to you, because I love you, do the fucking work of getting in relationships with therapists that are probably going to be fucking wrong, and you're probably going to have to go to 2 or 3 or maybe 4 of them before you find the right one. But you haven't done one yet, Steve, and that's what I'm having an issue with. My wife even listened to the last episode, and she's like, "Have Steve got help?" Right? Like, right? We're both kind of, and I'm on the same page with her because we both, my wife and I, went through years of fucking marriage therapist after marriage therapist. Like, seriously, we've been through therapy. Like,
on the cross,
oh
Steve,
man,
we're
like,
gonna crucify you.
my wife's got the ball, I've got the ball, and it's sort of like what you talked about, which was great.
Steve, keep roasting him.
Which was great is we've been through so many therapists, and then the last one with Susan, and she was great for a few. My wife's just like, you know what? My wife was like, I'm out, and I'm cool with that, right? I'm cool with that now. I was sort of pissed at her when she did it, but now I see it because we've both been through this fucking shit of trusting, and it's helped. It's helped though, Steve. You know what?
No.
These people are not great at. Not everyone's good at this, and it's really subjective work. It's incredibly emotionally exhausting, subjective work. But as your friend who loves you, do it. Have somebody. You hand them a fucking scalpel, and you say, "Here's my heart. Fillet me fucking open." Be my friend. Do that for me. Do it for us. We love you. We all love you. I know it's scary, but we love you. I don't want you to fuck up your marriage or fuck up your life. I don't know what you're going through right now, but I love you enough to say that because it's hard. And my wife and I've done horrible things. She's done horrible things, and we're still together because we filleted ourselves open in front of people and had a little faith, you know?
What's your fear?
What are you afraid of in that, in seeking help from someone?
Yeah, and that's
Honestly, I'm afraid of exposing myself and getting shit.
Yeah.
That's it. You got a question? What I was going to say was...
A therapist won't shit on you.
The
The
that
word.
come was when Derek's sister sat in with us.
when
I would drive to Spokane to see her. But like John said, she's 5 hours away. You can't see her.
Yeah.
But that's the point for me, is every time I've exposed my heart, I've been shit on.
To Christian counselors?
Every fucking time.
when have you ever been shit on by us?
Mm-mm. No, this is, you guys are my
So-
therapy.
No,
Seriously.
no, we're the worst therapists on
We're,
this.
we're,
No, because
we're not great.
I'm not.
We're emotional
No,
support,
no,
not therapy,
no, I
right?
have to disagree. You're not, because you listen and you hear me.
We're good at talk therapy.
No, but you don't pay us. And that's so not therapists.
I pay him. I give him 20
I'm
bucks
not-
every couple of months for our podcast.
But that
See,
pays for keeping this
that's
thing.
what I'm afraid of.
What's that?
being shit on.
Being shit on.
So
And you might. You know what? That's the risk. And then you find another therapist
understand that.
who you feel safe with.
I've had a few therapists. Some were good. Some were being nice, not so good. Others were just really expensive, and I would love to continue to see them. But that's one of my fears, is I'm going to say something, and I don't know how many times I've said certain things to, I mean, even Susan. I've opened the door crack.
Vulnerable. You were vulnerable and you felt,
Scared the fucking shit out of her.
yeah.
And it
Yes.
goes back to a lot of
Well-
when Derek talked about the angry men or scary men or whatever. I don't remember what
Scary
his,
Mm-hmm.
you know, name the podcast, but there's a lot of shit that I just peek the door open a little bit, and I'm fucking rescuing my therapist. You gotta be fucking kidding me.
Yeah.
Your job is supposed to be don't pick up my shit, but yet you are. So I get it. It's fucking scary.
Yeah.
Well, I was telling
All of
Chuck,
the
I've got a customer that I see, the psychiatric clinic, and I had my wallet out last week when I was seeing her. I go, you guys take this insurance? Because I already know who I'm going to see there. I didn't. I backed off. But it's. I go back to that. I mean, you don't know how difficult this is for me, even here in this group, to share some of the shit I've shared. I've thrown out on the table. And in fairness, when we had the full group here, there was a few things I said that there was a judgment labeled on me. That's typical. Fuck it. I'll pull back. And that's when Derek said that about your dad being here, and it's not a safe place. This is you guys, you three, and we talked about this last week. Is that the dynamics of the three of us on our podcast? But I think you'd be more than welcome to show up regularly. Is different than the six of us, because it's a different energy here, and I feel safer with you than I feel with the six.
I will say that even with the shitty therapist that I've had, I've gained.
Oh yeah.
something
Mhm.
from it.
And I'm not. I hope that you didn't see that as an offense. I'm being your asshole friend, and I think everyone needs an asshole friend. And I'll because I think that it would really benefit you, Steve, as a guy. I love
You're
you,
not being
man.
An asshole, Russ. You're being.
No, it's good.
You're,
Asshole.
yeah, it's
Right.
It's raw. Pulling it
good.
out.
Right.
Yeah,
You're
yeah.
not an asshole.
Because there's so many of us
I'd slap you if you
that
would.
don't do that.
That's an asshole.
You know,
But it's
we're not
good.
gonna
It's a
speak-
good
we're not
asshole.
gonna speak truth
Right.
because I won't speak truth because I'm afraid of the response. I don't want to risk a relationship
I get it.
because.
Well, you're sharing truth from your perspective, and that's what I'm doing with you tonight. And when my wife heard that episode and was like concerned for you and your wife, just from the shit that we've been through, and it's not judgment, it's not like I'm trying to make you feel bad,
Right.
but you've been vulnerable here, and there's that line